Hello everyone, I'm going to be getting back on with, well, I was hoping to be assembling the forward reverse switch, but after cleaning it all and getting it ready for assembly, I've noticed a bit of a problem. I don't know whether you can see it in this picture, but this stud here that carries the spring that helps to work the switch is bent. Yeah, it's been knocked and is bent backwards. This will make it easier for it to operate, yeah? Less spring pressure. Bad contact lead to bad connection, more sparking up the contacts. Let me just show you how it works. I'll use the good one. This is clamped solid. The moving part of the switch comes round and pushes up on there, and the spring maintains a good tight grip of the contact to keep a good switched what should we say, a path for the electricity to flow. If you just touch it, like when you get a battery and you touch it on, you'll get a spark. Good firm press, you'll get a nice even contact. This one that is bent, if you can see that the bend puts the pressure path more gentle, and actually I can press this one up a lot easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to disassemble this particular switch. I didn't want to have to do that because there's nothing actually wrong with them. I'll take this one apart, try and remove that stud and straighten it out. What I will do is I'll get you set up in the tripod and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try and talk through as I do it this time, just to make the video a bit better. So without any more, I'll get straight on. Right then, so I'm going to disassemble, can't even say it. I'm going to disassemble and see if I can get that stud out. I've got a locking nut on the top there. Peculiar that this is the only switch with a lock nut. Looks like it's maybe been replaced before. Just free off the lock nut. And then I'll be able to take that off. Now obviously the other one's held by the spring, so if I push the spring down I'll be able to do it by hand. Let off the spring and the spring's making it really tight. So that's off, just keeping an eye on, there's a nice washer there that fits between there and the spring. The spring comes off, and washer at the bottom in between the spring and the brass. At this point I'm going to reach over and get some rag and just clean that out. Still a bit of degreasing fluid in there. And I think I'll be able to pull off the top now. Just taking a look, there's not a lot, it's very worn. Wasn't expecting to see that. Maybe that's a result of it being bent. Clean that part out. Strange it's so worn with it being brass on brass. Can you see the wear on there? Not good. Anyway, you can see how bent it is and it threads in. I'm going to probably unthread it. Oh no, it's not threaded in. Can you see there's a pin there? Can't see if it's on the other side too. Yes, it is, with a bit of a rust stain. That's a very thin pin. I don't know whether I want to try bending it in situ or drive the pin out and then straighten it. It is only brass. Brass can be brittle. I'll have to be very careful. With that amount of wear though, I'm not sure whether bending it back is going to be a good idea. It seems to be bent, looking at it square on, where the wear is. Probably a bit weakened. I'll give it a try. What I'll probably do is I'll set you up in a different angle so you can see the vise, and I'll put the threaded portion of the stud in some soft jaws on the vise, and we'll take a look at straightening it out. Right, before I started taking the pin out, I've had a look at another one of the pieces, and if you look here, there is a grub screw down inside that hole. Obviously this is part of the path for the current, the electricity, and the main terminal of the wiring screws into there. With a braid running from there to there, one of these braids to maintain the contact. Now, to me, the wear almost looks like arc wear. It's been burnt away, which sort of says that that braid wasn't making a good enough contact. I wonder if that's the case. And I'm just not sure what this missing grub screw, what the purpose of that would have been to locate it. So if it's missing, oh no, it's not missing, look, it's there. Yeah, it does locate it. No, that's me. But actually, looking at that, you can see that it's been arcing there as well. So my conclusion is that now, just thinking about it, is that the braid has not been making good contact between the top and bottom of the switch. Well, it's not a switch, it's a switch part, and it's caused it to arc there. That arcing probably made that go soft with the increased temperature, and that's how it's bent. All conjecture, it might have just been someone with a large hammer or a big spanner or something, previous servicing. So what I'm going to do is I'll proceed and see if I can knock out that pin and straighten it. If the worst comes to the worst, I will just have to remanufacture a new pin. This can be done quite easily on a lathe, small piece of brass, bit of thread on the end. Might be the best option with that amount of sort of burnt away material there. Let's just see how we go. So we'll get you back into position so you can see the vise, and we'll take it from there. Right, I've decided that the best way to do this is to take the pin out. So I'm just going to tap it out. Now my smallest punch is too big to fit through there, so I'm just going to use this little nail, which will be softer than the pin. And yeah, it's tapping out. Yep, see? So I'm just using that on the soft top of the soft jaws, tapping it through, and I think we're there now. Yeah, tight enough for me to push out. It's a steel pin. Take that out of there. And I'm hoping now if I grip that in the jaws, I'll be able to rotate it and slide it out. Yeah, perfect. There we go. Okay, let me reach over and get a straight edge. And if we take a look at this, you can see just how bent it is. Yeah, can you see that? Hope you can. I can. So what I'm going to do now is just try and grip that and straighten it out. Just just use a small block of wood. And what I'll do is, if you roll that, you can see where the high side is. Yeah, it's about there. Put it in, grip it again. Use the wood and tap it back into place. Again, just going by eye. Use the flat surface again, and actually I've got it a lot better than it was, but if I use the straight edge you can still see that we've got quite a bend there. I don't know whether you can see that. So I can see it needs to go in not quite as far this time, and we'll try and see if we can straighten that. Hopefully not too far. No, that's looking a lot better. Still not perfect, but with a lot of these things you just have to work at them slowly, little bit at a time. Till you get somewhere near. Yeah, let's roll that on the surface, and I can see that I'm not bad at all now. Certainly a lot straighter than it was, and I think we'll probably get away with that. Just rolling that round. Got a tiny bit there, and what I'm doing is I'm seeing where the end of the contact is, and that's about where I want to grip it in the vise. As far as that end of contact is. Oh, my little piece of soft jaw fell away. One of my old soft jaws has disappeared, can't find it. Now doing that, setting it up, I'd lost where I was holding it. Get it back into position. Find out where the so it's only ever such a slight bend now is. There. Transfer that to the vise. And actually when I look at it now I can see that that's slightly kicked out. So again we'll get on there with a block of wood. Looking down on it now I can see that's pretty straight. Again we'll bring that into the straight edge. And actually I'm not that good, maybe still a little bit. It's a lot better than it was. I think that will do us. You could just tell by eye that it's a whole lot straighter than it was. Brilliant. Right. I've been theorising slightly again. One of the braids didn't have a washer. Yeah, I've only got 7 out of 8 washers. I'm going to look back through some of the photographs I've taken for reference so I get everything back where it should be, and I'm going to bet that this top piece is the one where the braid doesn't have the washer, which means it's been taken apart before, maybe not put back as tight as it should have been without the washer. Perhaps that's created a bad circuit and led to it arcing there and causing that to happen. Don't know, can't prove it, but as I say, I'll have a look through and we'll see if that in actual fact is true. So give it a little bit of a rub down. I'm not too worried at this stage, but what I will do is clean off the copper part of the contact with some contact cleaner when I'm ready to, when I've got it all back together. Yeah. And then if you, just in case if I get a little bit of paint on it or some oil or some grease, that doesn't end up leading to a bad contact. But what I can do now is get this back together. So I've got to put this back in here and put the pin back through. Quite tight. Probably have to tap it. I was hoping I wouldn't. Or perhaps if I put a little burr on it, gripping it in the vise. Doesn't seem so, but I will just get a little piece of emery cloth and just clean that up a little bit. There's probably some switch engineers that are cringing at what I'm doing. Dry emery on the brass. Be careful I don't take too much off and make it loose. Wrong piece. This piece. Where does it go? It goes up that way. Just cross-reference into that one. Yeah, this comes in like that, and that's just sliding in there. Still very tight, but I've got it in there. And I've just got to eye it through until I can see the hole. Just a little bit more. Bit of a rotate. I can just about see through it. Just get my little nail and see if I can pass the nail through. I can't. Wonder which way I have to rotate it. Got it a bit stuck now. So obviously I think I've perhaps collapsed it slightly, gripping it in the vise, even though I had the soft jaws. I can just about see through there, so if I just tap that down, I think I've got it quite lined up now. And I think just about. I can see through there. I don't know if you can, how much you see on the camera. Still not quite in far enough. Oh, that's a lot better. A little pin nail punch. And just need to rotate it slightly. And I can see clearly through there now. Still can't get the nail through, just a little bit of rotation. Just try and get that lined up. I know I've got it lined up when I can be able to push the thing right the way through. Just wonder what the best way to do this whilst maintaining the camera with you. I think it needs to rotate a tiny bit that way. Just how I'm seeing it. So I've got to try and grip on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the two nuts on the top and lock them down against one another. And then I'll be able to use the spanner to twist it slightly to make it line up. About like a sort of a lock nut against one another. So slightly fortuitous that it got two nuts. Just tighten the top one down onto the bottom one. Then when I use the bottom nut, I'll be able to rotate the whole thing to make the holes line up. So I've just rotated the whole thing slightly, maybe too far, and there you go, got it nice and lined up. Look how free that is. Can you see that? Maybe not. Yeah, look, see, that's perfectly lined up. So what I can now do is put the proper pin through, which I seem to have mislaid. There it is. Now, just looking at that, because it's a steel pin, it's slightly rusty in a couple of places. Again, I'll just use that emery just by hand to take off the dirt. I'm not sure about the amount of arc damage on that, whether that's going to be a problem. Yeah, it definitely came out that way, didn't it? So we'll put it back up that way. There it is on there. I can use this on the vise here, tap that through. Again, maybe it's not quite lined up. I can just use the nut to just ease that. And there it is, knocked through, and our pin stud is nice and straight. So I shall unlock those nuts. That's unlocked, and then I can put the whole thing back together. So we've got a washer on the bottom so that the spring, which is obviously hardened steel, doesn't wear into the brass. Spring on the washer on the bottom, spring on, washer on the top of the spring. Again, I'm just cleaning off a little bit of, actually that's grease dirt on there. Perhaps I didn't degrease the whole thing as well as I could have done, or sometimes when it's assembled, when you're degreasing it, you do leave a little bit behind. Put that on, put the first nut on, and as I say, this one, no, I don't do it like that, do I? Who spotted I was doing it wrong? We've got to put that on there first, haven't we? So that comes down, engages on the grub screw that I thought we'd lost. I'll just clean that in there a bit more. Look on there, that's relatively clean. Put that in. All seems to be moving nicely. Then we put the washer on, then the spring, then pull the spring down, put the washer on, pulling the spring down, put the first nut on, and in the operation manual for this locomotive you've got an amount of spring that should have. Well, that's much better now. Yeah, it's as good as, if not better than the one that's okay. Before, with the bent pin and the spring being easier to operate, it was brilliant. And I will put the lock nut back on, although all of the rest of the sort of switch elements don't have that. This one did have, as I say, signs that perhaps it had been altered before. I will lock that down. With a spanner that fits. Could do with a thinner spanner. This spanner is thinner. There we go. That's nipped up, and there we have it. a nice strong contact with a straight pin. I'll put on the clamp that holds it to the main chassis rails, or the rails that fit to the main chassis rails, and this is the long bolt that holds that together. Comes through from this side. Not sure if it's got its right washer on. Again, as I think this one has been replaced. The fact that the braid, there was one with the washer missing. I will have a look and I'll show you what I find. Perhaps be a still picture though, but it might tell the story. That's that there, ready, done. And I think now I'm probably getting towards the point where I can put it all together. But I think I'll wrap this video up here, and we'll look back at the assembling the whole thing as a separate video. Like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, click the little bell icon if you want to be informed when there's more videos, and I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.